Goodreads editors came out with a list of their top picks for different genre in the last 5 years, and I just did a video where I reviewed all the ones that I had already read, and now I wanted to get some recommendations from that list because I haven't seen them going around as much, and I wanted to see if they worked for me. So the first book I picked from the fantasy category, which is definitely in my comfort zone, but I've heard really good things about this specific one. This is The Everlasting, and I have read 2 books by this author. The Once and Future Witches, which didn't work for me, I gave up about halfway through it, but I really like The Six Deaths of a Saint. And I've heard that this is actually inspired by this one. This was a short story, 30 pages. So at this point I wanted to see, is this an author that works for me or not? And they are recommending it, so hopefully that's going to work for me. And then for the historical fiction section, which is not my main genre, but once in a while I do find some that I really enjoy, and they were recommending this one, which is The Lion Women of Tehran. This was actually from Book of the Month, but this has been a little while. I got it in June 2024, so it's been 2 years that it's been on my shelf, so I want to see if this is a good one or not. I also really wanted to try their sci-fi recommendations because I feel like in the last couple of years I haven't heard of that many sci-fi that are really standing out. So the first one is The Blueprint, which actually a lot of the ones on that list had really cool covers but mixed ratings, so I'm really curious if they are hidden gems. I feel like sci-fi tends to have low ratings on average. So this one is dystopian. I'm not too sure exactly what the story is about. It seems complicated a bit, but it's saying that it's similar to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and they're saying Octavia Butler, who is one of my favorite authors. So I'm going to try this one. I'm going to let you know. From the library, I did borrow the ebook for Sky Full of Elephants, which this one is more speculative fiction. I believe it's like one day every white person just gets up and goes to the ocean and just drowns. And it's about what it is to be a Black person in the US when white people are not a thing anymore. So I'm curious. And the last one that I had on my shelf is this one. This one is a hard sci-fi. This is The Stardust Grail. Again, really cool cover, but has been getting mixed reviews, but editors are loving it, so maybe I will too. I believe this one is after there's been this war with aliens, and the main character is a thief. Oh yeah, and she's seeing these weird visions of the future. So all of these books seem to be very character-driven, which I feel like is common for like editors or any kind of like expert recommendations. And I'm kind of 50-50. I like action-driven stories, but maybe these ones are going to work. Oh, I almost forgot. I have one for the nonfiction category. I have the audiobook for Everything is Tuberculosis. I have heard really good things about this one, so it's only 6 hours. I think I can probably squeeze it in. So that's 6 books that I'm hoping to read in the next week or two. They're all about 300 pages though, so I might be able to read most of them. And I'm going to start with this one because I really want to know if the hype is real. Well, I can probably end the vlog just right here because I have just read the best book I will read all week, probably all month. This was devastating. It was beautiful, and I will need a few days to get over this. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to pick up another book because, oh my gosh, the pain. I can't tell you too much about the plot because I feel like some of the things are better to not know about it, but main character is a historian. He has spent his whole life learning about these myths, these legends, these stories about Una the Everlasting. He gets this opportunity to go back in time and write her final story or final legend that will save the queen and make her well known and the legend that she is. But as he's going there trying to get her to do that thing, he not only is already in love with her, that's one thing, but he's doing all of these things knowing how it ends and how tragically it will end for her as she saves this queen. So this was heartbreaking, but this is like the first 100 pages. And afterwards, I just had to put the book down and just stare at my wall. I did that actually multiple times. But like the first time I did it was like 100 pages in. I just was not ready for any of the content that followed. And I really loved it. What's funny is that I feel like the writing tends to be more lyrical, kind of like fairy tale-esque. And I often will complain or like mention that because of that type of writing, the stories, I feel emotionally detached from them. Like it doesn't just, I'm just not as invested somehow. It just creates this distance between me and the characters. And I had no issues with this one, like, at all. Like I said, I'm devastated. And it happened multiple times throughout the book, and I just had no idea where things were going multiple times, like in the best way possible. So I'm so glad that I was convinced to try this one again, because like I had mentioned, I had tried the Once and Future Witches by her, which was like historical fiction, kind of fantasy, witchy, which sounded really good to me. It was about like during the time of like women's right and everything. So I thought I was going to be invested, but I just couldn't do it. I was listening to it as an audiobook and I put it down pretty much midpoint. And like audiobooks, it's usually pretty easy to continue them, right? Even though you might not be 100% invested, but I just could not do it. And then I read the Sixth Death, whatever, this one, which I was told that this is a good one. If you like this one, you're going to definitely like this one. I'm not going to say more, but yeah, I'm so glad I trusted the people and trusted this list. So maybe Goodreads editors are good or can create a good list of recommendations. I feel like sometimes experts, when you read like their list of favorites, they tend to be a bit too literary fiction for my taste. I probably need to just try more in that genre. But either way, this is making me trust the list. So I will be reading more. That's definitely the plan with this whole reading vlog anyway. I do have to say, I have technically started this one a little bit, the blueprint. I got from the library the ebook because I could not sleep in the middle of the night, and I thought maybe reading would help a little bit. I will say, I don't know if it helped because so far I'm extremely confused about what's going on. There are multiple like timeline point of views, so I'm not going to attempt to talk about it until I'm further into it. But yes, I don't think anything's going to beat this because this is my first 5-star of the month of this vlog. So yeah, it's going to be tough, but as long as nothing else is awful, I'll be happy because this, yeah, I don't know. This one is sci-fi though, so maybe like flipping, although this one is like fantasy sci-fi. Either way, a change of pace going into dystopian, and hopefully it doesn't break my heart. I can't take another one of those. I finished the blueprint and I understand why I was so confused. It was not just a lack of sleep. I feel like the timeline is confusing. You're following 3 timelines, 2 point of views. That's why I was confused. And it was compared to Margaret Atwood, so The Handmaid's Tale, definitely, and Octavia E. Butler. I feel like specifically Wild Seed by her. So if you haven't read it, there's like this very toxic relationship between these 2 characters, this man being obsessed with her and trying to get them to have, not babies for the sake of it, but like they have magical powers, these kind of powers, and he's trying to create like perfect people through them. So like it's a very toxic dynamic, and imagine these 2 concepts being mixed. That's what you get in here. So the timelines you're following, the main character when she's 15 and when she's 20, and she lives in this dystopian version of the US where there was a second civil war. And the people that are now called descendants of slavery are stuck living their lives through this algorithm that assigns them. So the women, for example, are assigned to white men for a couple of years to have babies, and then they are assigned again through the algorithm to another descendant of slavery, so like a black man, and they will be having his children. So they choose nothing, and the men will have to go to war. There's only one state that is free, and it is Louisiana, so people are just dreaming of running away and making it there. When she's 15, she meets this powerful white man who might be the next president, like very high in politics, and he decides that she will be his, and he starts essentially grooming her. And you're following her, again, between the 2 timelines of her being 15 and this situation starting, and her being 20 and maybe have the opportunity to run away. And being stuck. Again, it was a toxic relationship, it's grooming, so she hates him, but she also loves him because she spent 5 years of her life with him. So you have these 2 things happening, and then there's also the timeline, the story that she's writing about her ancestor, Henriette, who was brought to the US from Africa, and how she lived her life and how she is using her story to maybe get courage of decisions that she wants to do with her life. So that's why I was confused. There's just a lot happening, but at the same time, it's a little bit like The Handmaid's Tale, kind of slow pace and character driven, and like these conflicting feelings that she's having, which again, kind of like Wild Seeds. So this was a really interesting book. I am not sure how I feel about it. I understand why it has pretty mixed ratings. I think I'm going to give it 3.5. I think it was worth the read. I think that if that sounds like a book that is appealing to you, you will know that this is one that you should pick up. I would recommend it. This was good. I wouldn't call it enjoyable, but it was good. So I think the next one I'm going to continue with the sci-fi, and I'm going to pick up the speculative fiction that I got from the library just because I'm starting to run low on the time that I have to read it. I wanted to make sure I would have it for this vlog. So I'm going to try to focus on this one next. I am currently listening to the audiobook. I will definitely be able to finish it, but I think I'm going to wait until I'm done to review it. But yes, so far things are going good. So I think I'm going to give up on the Sky with Elephant, the elephant book. I'm 24% into it. So it's up to like 10, 11, and I instantly wasn't feeling the writing, but the topic sounds really interesting. It's speculative fiction. I've been trying to read more of them because so far they have been working, but I'm also trying to respect the gut feeling because more often than not, my feelings don't change. The reviews I've seen were pretty mixed, but the author kept introducing really complex and sensitive topics, and I was really curious how he was going to handle them, but like I just am not feeling it. So I don't know if I'm putting it down just before it gets better, but that's where I'm at. So 24%. I'm going to tell you what has happened so far so you can decide if you want to pick it up or not. So I was mentioning basically white people, I don't know if they hear something, I still don't know, but something happens and all of them get up and they make it to the closest body of water and drown themselves. That's how it starts. And the main male character was in prison for years. At first, you don't know. I will tell you what happens in a second. So if you don't want to know, but like 24% into it, it's not really that much of a spoiler. Anyways, he was in prison for years. And when he gets out, he decides to go to Howard University, which is a very popular Black university. A lot of Black teachers and Black students that go there. And he thought, it's probably going to be one of the places that makes the most sense, that will be the most equipped to deal with the situation. So he goes there and he becomes a teacher because he's really good with systems, electronics. So that's what he's doing when he gets a call from his daughter, who's 17. He has never met her. So she needs a ride to go in the South, which is apparently very dangerous. And he decides that he's going to help her. So she was with her mother. She's mixed race. So her mother is white and she was married to this white man. They have, I think it was twins, brother. Anyway, everyone got into the water and drowned. So now she's alone, but she was raised very religious and she has some complex feelings and traumas due to religion and the fact that she was mixed race, and she feels like she basically tried to go with them, but she wasn't able to stay under the water. And anyway, she feels like she was left behind because she wasn't good enough. So there's, again, hints that there's a lot of trauma there. And we get the backstory of what happened. So again, if you don't want a spoiler. So basically there was a very brief romance between her parents on day, I think it was 3, whatever, they are sleeping together, they're in bed. And her mother's Elizabeth, her brother makes it into the room. They see them together and he sees a black man. So he screams rape and he shoots him. He's arrested. It goes to trial. And the mother, Elizabeth, basically has to decide which side is she going to be on. Is she going to save her brother who shot someone or the man that she was sleeping with? So she decides to say that it was not consensual, so he goes to prison. So obviously, historically, this has been a very heavy topic, a white woman claiming that she was assaulted by a black man, right? So that's another portion that is introduced, a difficult topic that is introduced by the authors. I was really curious to see how he was going to handle them, especially because they are going south. And by the time I put it down, they already met the first, crazy person. And I feel like, again, going south, there's a lot more trauma with slavery historically and religion. And I'm curious what percentage of what you need to have to be one of the people that go into the water, because I feel that's probably going to reveal some family secrets too. But yes, I didn't go further than that 24%. It was too much for me. Like I said, I wasn't enjoying the writing style. And it's on purpose, but like the daughter was obviously kind of annoying. Anyway, I wasn't feeling it, so I'm trying to stay on a roll because I'm having a fantastic reading year and I want to keep going. So this is kind of where this book and I end. Feel free again to tell me if I miss anything really good. You can tell me in the comment section. But yes, audiobook. I did finish Everything's Tuberculosis. I understand the hype. It's a very accessible nonfiction. I think for me, audiobook was the perfect way to go through it. Like I said, it was only 6 hours. And it's a mix of the memoir from the author who's narrating it. It's a bit of the history of tuberculosis, the way that it used to be perceived, like in a romantic way almost, that it was like, oh, the poor, tragic, fair-skinned, rich artist, you know, suffering. They're always very creative. And eventually they realize actually it does affect the poor and not just white people. So it lost this image. And of course, the history of the treatments and how in third world countries still nowadays, they are developing more and more resistant TB because they are offering them the cheapest meds possible. Anyway, he goes into that and there's a specific case that he's discussing. So that's what I mean, that it's very accessible because it kind of goes a bit surface level on like multiple plan, which keeps it interesting, but I kind of wish it went deeper into the topic. I thought we would learn more about actually tuberculosis, which we don't really. I think my issue is that I've been reading some really amazing nonfictions this year, even from this list. Like One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This, Double Ganger, multiple other ones I can't think of. I know I've read multiple that were like 5 stars. So in comparison, this one feels a bit more like science, pop sciencey. So it's great for, you know, multiple people, but I just wanted more because I've been reading so many really, really good ones. So yeah, I think I've read like 20 so far this year. So I feel like in comparison, it was okay. Like it was a pleasant audiobook, but that's it. So this is probably like a 3-star, which is not a bad rating. Again, I think it's just a question of audience. So for me, it was good. I liked it. There you go. My last 2 options. I think I have time for one more. So I can either read The Stardust Grill, which is the hard sci-fi, but I just tried 2 sci-fi in a row. So maybe instead I can try the historical fiction, so The Lion Women of Tehran. I had wanted to read this because I had heard that it had a complex female friendship, which I love. Probably the best one I've ever read would be the Neapolitan series, the My Brilliant Friend being the first book. If you're looking for a series to binge this summer, this has to be it. It's just one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, I don't know how it will compare. That's so unfair to start with that, like poor book. But I really wanted to try this one. So this is going to be the one I picked between the 2. I feel like I already did 2 sci-fis. Ooh, that's pretty. So this was from 2024. So 2 years later, finally getting to reading it. Better late than never. I finished The Lion Women of Tehran and it was really good. I think this would be a really good book club book because there are multiple events that are kind of shocking or will give you some kind of reactions that would be fun to discuss with others. And you follow these 2 girls their whole lives, but I mean, it's one point of view, but still. And I feel like everyone is going to have some thoughts. It contained a bit more political events than I expected. I think let me just start with the one negative. I kind of wish it went deeper because it's 300 pages and I felt like I wanted a little bit more, and I didn't really care if it was more about their relationship, more character development, more politics, like just more. I felt like it felt too short. But again, that's kind of what makes it a really good book club book because it's such a quick, entertaining read, but it was painful. It was painful. So you follow a main character who is 7 when her father passes away, and her mother, because she's the only child, they are forced into basically poverty because her mother refuses to marry her late father's brother. So they have to move to a poor neighborhood where she will meet the girl who will become her best friend. At first, she's not sure how to feel about her, but they grow into a really nice friendship, and then they separate because her mother actually does say yes, and they move back to a richer neighborhood, and her friend years later comes back in her life, and you have like the mixed feelings of a teenager, you know, adolescence. And you see the changes in their friendships, like going closer, further away as they go to university. You know, is marriage a thing for them or not? And I appreciated some of the twist that happens. I feel like the main character's mother is obsessed with the evil eye and like, you know, have to be careful. She's more poor than you, so of course she might have the evil eye for you and like be jealous of you. And you see the consequences of all these beliefs throughout their lives. And It was good. It was painful, but it was good. So I'm gonna give it 4. Like, it was a solid read. I just wish it had a little bit more. Again, I don't know if anybody that has read it will feel the same, because 300 pages, all the books that I read this week were 300 pages. And like, this one felt incredibly long. It felt like the author, okay, it's 300 pages. It felt like the author ripped off my heart and dragged it for 1,000 years. And it's 300 pages. And this one, 300, felt too short. So it really depends, huh? I feel like it depends on the pacing of the book, but yes, you see them their whole life though. Like 300 pages is not that much. And I have some mixed feelings about the ending, but I can't really say without spoiling the ending. But if you want to hear them, I can tell you in the comment section as always. So I feel like this week went extremely well. Nothing put me in a reading slump. I read so many, I mean, I finished 4, and the 5th one I kind of have mixed feelings about, but still, I think it went pretty well. So it was the best book of the week. All right. Is anyone surprised? I feel like I knew right away. So a 5-star. We're going to give this one 4, and this one is a 3.5, and the audiobook 3. So I feel like this was a successful reading vlog. Again, the quantity of books that I finished, and nothing I hated. I mean, the one I wasn't sure about, it wasn't hate, it's just writing style. It didn't work for me. So it looks like I will have to trust the Goodreads editors list. I feel like they really mentioned some hidden gems, some books I hadn't seen everywhere. And when I posted the video of the list, which I will link again if you haven't seen it, a lot of you left me some recommendations. So I'm going to tell you quickly the ones I added to my TBR so you know. Because I really was hoping to get to some mystery thrillers because they sounded really interesting, but the waiting list for all of them was like 20 weeks away. So I couldn't. Found it. Okay, so I believe these two are historical fiction. You guys recommended The Safe Keep and Glorious Exploits. In the sci-fi category, which I had mentioned that I felt like the ratings were really so-so for a lot of them. So I was really happy to get some recommendations. There is Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and there is No Anti-Memetics Division. I don't remember which one you guys told me not to look into it and to just go into it not knowing anything. So I don't know what they're about because I'm scared to look. I also added Happiness Falls, which I had been thinking about. So that was added to, these are not on my waiting list because my waiting list is full. So it's like the wish list. So when I have a spot on the waiting list, I can add these. I also put Junie, Heartwood, and then the ones that I was able to add to the waiting list, I have Bat Eater, which I had said I really wanted to get to that one. And I also, now we're starting to be far, Cursed Daughters, that was already there. And It's Not Her, The Ghostwriter. So like I was saying, all of those mystery thriller. Now they're saying 16 and 17 weeks. So people are skipping their turns, so it's making it less long for me. So yeah, probably gonna go towards like end of summer, fall. I mean, that's when I usually read a ton of them. So that's fine for the mystery thrillers. So yeah. Was this successful? Yes, absolutely. Do I trust the editors of Goodreads? Yes. I mean, as soon as I saw, it sounds a bit mean, but as soon as I saw that in the mystery thriller category, there was no Frida McFadden. Listen, I'm totally okay with popcorn reads, and like, I just really don't like her writing, which, you know, to each their own. But I really resent that every single time now that there's a section about mystery thrillers, there's like 8 of her books out of like 12 options, which is just excessive. Like 2, that's fine, but 8 out of the 12, it's just frustrating me because I'm trying to get some recommendations and it's all of her books every time. Right there, I thought maybe that list was going to be better for me. And like I said, I'm really curious about some of their fantasy books too. I don't know why I didn't see those. There was one I know I added to my waiting list. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen, like Witch's Road or something. Anyway, I will be trying more books from that list. If you have tried any, let me know. And again, if you have read any of these, let me know how you feel because I recommend all 3 and the audiobook too. But these were really solid. I had a really fantastic reading week. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put more on the screen, including the list I was mentioning. And if you want to see me struggle through another reading vlog, I'll put some past ones and I will see you then. Bye.